You're tuning into.
You're now tuning into
CodenameZ.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 3. I can't believe we're there already.
I know, 3.
It's chugging right along. So I think today we might as well just get right into the topic. Oh, wait. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Tyrone.
And I'm Basil.
And this is CodenameZ.
The podcast.
Yep. So let's jump right into today's topic. Today's topic is, what does it mean, or basically toxic people? What does it mean to be toxic? Are we toxic in this generation? Because, I mean, it's a very popular term nowadays, like, they're so toxic, or I'm so toxic. So
the situation is toxic. And
right,
X, Y, and Z.
Right. What do you think it means to be toxic?
I think toxic, or just toxic behavior in general, is just something that just adds negativity or upsets you. Like, just something that, like, you personally are doing that just brings negativity to someone else or just another group of people.
Right. And it's like, yeah, I think I agree with that definition. Being toxic, I think, is just being overly negative, like any sort of negative traits that brings
someone else down, or brings like a significant other.
And it can even bring yourself down, whether it's like holding you back in your relationships, holding you back in life. It can even be holding you back in your career, your just like, it could be a multitude of traits. That's why I feel like it's maybe not one top, it's different ways that someone can be toxic.
I mean, I've been told that, like, my toxic trait is because, I'm very self-deprecating when it comes to my humor.
Right, and I always say
okay, we're not saying that. Thank you so much. But I'm very self-deprecating when it comes to certain things, and I've been told this by, I've been told this by someone who was toxic in general. But I've been told, I was like, oh, that was like a toxic thing that I do, and like, I think a lot of times, like, I'm self-deprecating because, like, that's just always been my thing. Like, I'm very, I had low self-esteem, like really very low self-esteem. So, like, for me to kind of make fun of it, it's like to kind of put myself down. But there are people that I've met that's like, that's so toxic and I don't like it, X, Y, and Z. But I never thought of it as toxic. What behavior to, like, for me, I think it's toxic to myself. But, like, I don't think it's toxic to someone else, because if I'm making a joke about myself, it's not toxic to you. I think when I think of toxic, I think of people, like, like if you're in a relationship and you're like, you gaslight your significant other multiple times, or like if you look at, like, I don't know, like Maury or Jerry, and they're like, this person's been cheating on me, X, Y, and Z, and you make the other person believe that they're cheating, and then when the results come back, and it's like, you were the one that's cheating. Right. It's like, you were the one that was cheating, and it's like, that's toxic to me, because it's like, you're putting your insecurities into someone else, and like, that's something that you're doing. Right. You're currently doing this one thing, but you're gonna make someone else believe that they're doing that one thing. That's toxic. But I think a lot of things but this generation likes to just throw toxic in there for things that are not toxic. Right.
But like I said, I think also the definition, I think you can be self-toxic.
Oh, yes.
Like, so, I don't know. Like, so, like, for example, if you want to stay quick just for a moment on the example of, like, self-deprecating, it can be toxic to you because of, like, self-esteem and, like, your own image of yourself. But someone else may come to the picture and be like, it feels toxic to them because, I don't know, maybe they have a similar issue, and being around someone that does it maybe drags them, I don't know, back into that quote unquote toxic behavior.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see it, but, like, I don't know, when I just think of someone who is toxic, I just don't see self-deprecating humor as toxic. But I mean,
that wouldn't be something that I would at least consider toxic to the level that, like, I wouldn't hang out with someone or be around because, like, you know what I'm saying, like, it's just like, and it's not even that toxic, you know what I'm saying, like, it's not compared to ways some people can be toxic.
Or some fake ways. Like, I want to say, like, there are some fake things that I think that, like, people are like, oh, I'm toxic. Like, I'm like, no, you're just a bad person.
Like, well, I mean, a toxic person, I guess this could be a bad person.
I'm okay, I mean, that, yes, okay.
Right.
Cool. But, like, I don't know, I think that I feel like people glorify being toxic.
Oh,
and that's what really annoying. I wanted
to bring that up.
Okay, bring it up, because I know exactly what you're going to go into.
No, I hate, like, nowadays, and like you said, even beyond getting to a definition of what things are toxic and what things aren't toxic, there are certain behaviors that people deem as toxic and people think is cute to be that way.
Or I think you're just childish.
Yeah, it's just like I see so many times people will post on like Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media and be like, one thing about me is my mouth get me into trouble. I stay in arguments. And it's just like, sir, ma'am, whoever, that's not cute. Like, that's not a good way to be in life. Like,
yeah, I mean, you shouldn't want to, like, it also, another thing that I want to bring into it, people who are very argumentative for a lot of things, I don't think it's I think sometimes it's like you're showing off like you're uneducated.
Right.
Sometimes. Like, if you always have, like, I listen to people, 'cause I feel like a lot of people who are very argumentative are also not listening.
Right.
And I think the toxic is right there. You're just
Right,
not
you're
listening
not
to someone. Like, your toxic trait is not that you're argumentative. The toxic trait is that you're not listening.
Right.
So you're not letting the other person kind of bring what they want to bring to the table because you're already thinking of a clapback to it. And it's like, no, listen to what they're saying.
Right.
But I don't know. I think being toxic is not a cute thing to me. Like, and I see those posts all the time, and it's like, oh, well, this is toxic about me, and if you don't like it, what?
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
If you don't like it, you can just leave. Well, maybe I think you shouldn't like it either. Like, like I'm saying, like I know in our generation we speak a lot nowadays about being authentically you, being yourself, being the person you are, which is very true. Like, everyone should learn to accept people and love people. But no, I don't think that is talking about toxic traits. Like,
there's some things you should not.
You should want to change about yourself.
I mean,
like,
you can say, "Oh,
happy.
I'm toxic because I like beat my girlfriend or my boyfriend." Yeah. That's not something that someone should just love you for.
Right? Yeah, it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm an abuser in a relationship, but that's me. Like, no, and people don't have to accept you. And
I've seen posts like that. It's like, oh yeah, like I'll punch my boyfriend, but he better not punch me. What? That's not like a toxic trait that you're abusive.
You're abusive, right?
Like, abusiveness, that's really toxic.
Right.
That's real toxic.
The ultimate toxic. Like, I don't know. It's just, but I think you also made an interesting point in question about, like, what do we label as toxic, and sometimes maybe being careful. It's just like everything in society, like, people are all different. We are all individual, unique beings. So we're all not going to act and think the same way. So we shouldn't, in the same token as like us calling out toxic behaviors, we shouldn't be so quick to label certain things as toxic just because it's not the way we would operate for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, another, like, I've seen people who are like in friendships,
right?
And if it's like, okay, scenario, this person's like, I think I want to do weed for my birthday. And
you said do weave.
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 I
thought you said do weave.
And you're like, your friend's like, oh, you should do braids. I think you look like better in braids. I think they're really cute. And then you get angry at them. It's like, oh, well, they're just so toxic. I don't need it in my life. They just gave an opinion.
Right.
It's not being toxic. It's just them. If someone giving you an opinion is toxic, well, they just call everyone. This whole podcast is toxic.
Right.
Because we're just giving
opinions. Right.
So that's not a toxic trait. A toxic trait is not thinking or being free thinking.
Right.
But people kind of assume, like, oh, well, this relationship is so toxic to me. It's like, oh, what did they do? And it's like, well, every time I said I want to do this one thing, they suggested something else. Maybe they just know you a little bit better. They know that you don't want to do this one thing.
Right.
Maybe they're just trying to help you out. Maybe, like, listen to what they're saying. True. But I don't think calling this person toxic or, going on social media and be like, oh, my God, they're just so toxic. And then it's like, they're not toxic. It's like, that's not something that you can define as toxic. That's just, the relationship didn't work out well. Okay, cool, move on. But it's not like, oh, this person's toxic. They're not toxic. Yeah. It just didn't happen.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. And this topic is so interesting because, like, there's so many levels to it. There's so many ways that you could go with talking about, like, what is toxic. Because, like, you brought up, like, toxic friendships or, like, relationships. And it's just like, yeah, people, you can't be too quick to label something as toxic. But, okay, that means I have to jump ship of this friendship or this relationship because honestly, I believe it's a toxic trait to not be able to take criticism. So if you think that someone's criticism all the time is them being toxic, then that's kind of, maybe that's a toxic trait about yourself, quote unquote toxic trait, that you don't take criticism well. But I don't know. I think it is, I don't know. It's very important though to be on the lookout for toxic relationships, because when I think of a toxic relationship or toxicity in someone, I do think that it has a way of affecting those around you. Like, it affects you if you're around someone that's toxic, and like the others that are around them. That's why I feel like it is important. But what that means, it can mean a very things like, is this a toxic relationship? But I think I see a lot of people stay in, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships that are toxic, that they probably should get out of, because it can bring, I don't know, it can bring you down mentally, spiritually, like.
Well, yeah, I think it goes back to like the definition of toxic is like bringing negativity.
Right.
And that's the thing, it's like, if you're in like a relationship or friendship, whatever you want to call it or whatever, and it's like, I feel like if you're not progressing, that's
right.
where you can call it a toxic friendship or a toxic relationship.
Right.
Like if you're in a friendship and like, I don't know, every time you suggest something or say something, your friend is just like really rude about it. Right. Or like, you know, like, oh, they leave you out of stuff. That's toxic.
Right.
But I think that like little things, it's like, oh, like, I don't know how to say it where it's not like, you know, what I'm trying to say. But I think toxic is when you're really like, you know, you're putting someone else down for no apparent reason. Not
right. That's a form,
you know,
of
I mean, because like
yeah.
even when I say like, oh, not inviting. I mean, they also forget. So I can't be like, if you forget to invite me to some one thing, I can't be like, oh my god, they're so toxic.
Right.
No. But if you see a pattern of like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 12 years of like, so I wasn't invited to your birthday party,
right.
wasn't invited to your wedding, wasn't invited to your graduation.
Right.
It's like, is this a friendship that's like, what is this friendship? And that's a toxic friendship. If like,
right.
I can say like that, but I think that like, oh, it was like, oh, I forgot one time. Oh, okay, fine.
Right.
But I think that like, you know, to label something or someone toxic, it requires a lot more than just one mistake.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it is also, I think, a level of introspection that has to be done with people looking into themselves that sometimes maybe a lot of people in our generation don't do. Like, if you're going to label something toxic, I feel like you have to look at yourself too. Like, that's one thing I feel like people don't do enough in their relationships or just in life in general, is like, take a moment to think back on like what's going on with your life. Like, okay, if a situation occurred that you think is toxic or bad, yes, the first thing you want to do is like, they did this, they did that, they, but take a moment to say, okay, what did I do? Did I play a role? Because if we're honest, none of us are perfect. So if we want to talk about toxic traits, we all probably have something that we have done or do. I mean, others more than some. But, but like,
he looked right at me when he said that.
I did not.
Let's just say that.
Not. But I'm just saying. So it's like, but also like, you just have to. I think if people did more introspective like exercises to think, what part did I play? I feel like there would be a lot less toxicity in the world in general, because people will be working on themselves constantly, kinda.
Definitely, and I think. You know, I think that was a really good point. Like, a lot of people don't want to bring to the table, well, what did I do in the situation? And, I mean, honestly, like, you have to sit back and think, are you as a person, are you toxic?
Right.
And, like, you know, like, yeah, what role did I play in, you know, this relationship ending, this friendship ending, or, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
And I kind of want to pose a question, being a little messy. Do you, like, what are your toxic traits? Like, what do you think from you? And I'll answer too. I'm not going to just do that.
Right.
What do you think are your toxic traits? Because I know I have a couple. But, like, what do you think?
Good question. And let me answer that after the break.
Oh,
okay. We'll be right back, guys.
And today, guys, we are sponsored by the ASMR community. Is there even a such thing as the ASMR community? Well, Loki, we still don't have sponsors, so I just made that up.
Welcome back, everyone. So I believe Basil was asking me what are my toxic traits. So we're going to move on right to the next topic.
We're not. Bring it up. Let's go.
I don't know. If I would have to pick, I'm going to pick 3. I would think toxic trait or just things to work on. Because sometimes toxic trait.
I didn't ask you. This is not redemption. I didn't ask you what you're working on. I said, what are your toxic traits?
Like I said, things that I have to work on. Well, one, I would say one thing that I have to work on is saying no. Sometimes, like I feel so bad with saying no, and then sometimes when I actually do say no, I feel more stressed than if I actually would have did it because I'm like, oh, now I feel like extra bad, especially, I mean, Basil may call this a toxic trait, especially when it comes to my family. Like, I have a very hard time saying no to things, and it can get a little stressful, but I don't know. But also, I do see that sometimes as like a positive thing, the fact that a lot of people, I don't know, would maybe ask for help with it. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe like that they know that they could go to you to ask for help. But anyway, okay, so my next toxic trait, I think, this is as of recent, but I just feel like I've been just losing my patience. Like, in the city, like, I don't know, just things just irk me so bad, especially when it comes to driving. And it's just like, I be like blowing my gasket. Like, I just be so annoyed. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, why do y'all behave this way? See, there I go right now. So I just think I should become a little bit more.
I mean, I think you kind of gripped me up a little bit.
Okay, whatever.
I'm scared for my life, actually.
Be in the car. Why did you rush out? Like, calm down, sir. But in the last trade, what was the last trade? I said 3 before. I forget. I'm blinking on what was the last one.
I'm not helping you with this because I'm going to be messy.
Here you go. No, what was the one I said, not what you said?
I have a booklet of your toxic traits.
Okay.
So let's move on with our...
I have a database of Basil's toxic. Let me pull it up on my Google Doc.
Well, you know what? But, while you're thinking about your toxic, I'll bring mine to the table since you're going to bring those PG toxic traits to the table.
What was PG?
Fake. Anyway.
Whatever.
So
I don't have any rated R toxic traits.
Okay, not rated R. Jesus Christ.
You said PG, so what's the opposite of PG?
PG-13.
Low key, I smoke crack.
Okay, well.
Okay, moving right along.
We're going to move past that one.
My toxic trait.
You're a drug addict? Oh my god. So,
oh my god.
I have a couple of toxic traits that I can admit to. And some people can call them manipulative. And I don't,
manipulative.
I mean, so one thing I know one of my toxic traits is I'm very like sensitive, and I will blow a situation. You did not have to do that.
I didn't have to be shaking my head so hard. You did not have to shake your head
that hard. Break your neck.
I turned it to Cardi B over here. I know that's right.
Thank you. Yes, I can be extremely sensitive, and that's something that we all know about. But it's a toxic trait, yes. I mean, I take things that are not deemed to be that serious very seriously, and I tend to hurt my own feelings before someone else has the opportunity to. So, I can definitely say that's one of my traits that I can definitely say is like, toxic. Like, I will make a situation a lot worse in my own head before anything else, and then I'll also react in that way to someone else. So, if I think that you're slighting me in a sense, I will take that little... I mean, I got angry with you over a period at the end of your text message, because to me a period is very strong. Thank you.
I literally said, we can meet tomorrow to record the podcast with a period. Me using proper grammar.
The person who never puts periods in the sentences, thank you. Anyway.
There y'all see.
Thank you. But no, so, and to me it was like, I don't know, when... And listen, we can bring this. I have friends who would tell me the same thing. I'm very strange when it comes to texting. So like, I see a period, I'm like, "What are you trying to say?" Or I see like an ellipsis, like what is ellipses? I get irritated. Oh, yeah. I get irritated because to me it just means something else. So I tend to get in my feelings about it, and that's fine. Another toxic trait, which I already mentioned earlier, that I'm very self-deprecating. I guess you can call that toxic. Which I had someone who I was dating previously tell me like. That was something that they were not a fan of. But I have extremely self-deprecating humor, and I joke a lot just because like that was just, for me, it's kind of it comes out natural. Right. So I'm not meaning it to be a certain way, but I, will make a situation funny if I'm uncomfortable or if I think, the situation calls for it, and that's just the thing. I don't know, but like, I've also been called manipulative, and I don't think I'm manipulative.
Yeah, I don't
in a situation like I don't see. I mean, I was told that by like a female friend before, and I don't think I'm manipulative in the slightest.
Even though our whole friend group inferior did have a intervention about how you were manipulating everybody.
Oh,
that was
okay.
in 12th grade.
That
So I'm just
never
making stuff
happened.
Okay.
Jesus. You're gonna have these people thinking no, thank you so much.
You Joe from you locking people in the basement.
Wow. Okay, so there's a difference between being toxic and being a murderer. Yes, Joe is very
well,
toxic.
murderers are toxic.
No, Joe's very toxic. If you don't know what we're talking about you, which also
Right.
you. Can we new season?
It's coming out this year.
This
I think
year,
like near Christmas or something like that. Like, come on,
by
now.
the end of the year. Okay.
Right. But speaking of Joe and toxicity, I think I kind of wanted to talk more about like toxic relationships because I saw a meme that was going around today on Instagram, and it was like, what did it say? Oh, stop trying to say that cheating is a part of the normal ups and downs of a relationship, which I do see a lot. Like, I hear people all the time, they be like, well, you know what my grandmom used to say, love is hard and you got to put work into relationships. I'm like, when they said that, I don't think they meant going to bed crying every night, having screaming matches and throwing wine bottles at each other's heads and stuff, or like the person cheating on you chronically. Like, that's not what they meant about relationships take work or they might be a struggle. I think they meant like, you have to spend time with the person. You have to take time to understand the person. You have to actually put some effort into it. Not, oh, if you're miserable, that's just a part of the relationship and you have to live with your misery.
No,
like,
no. I saw that post too, and I think it's really stupid because no, cheating, I don't think is a part of, like, that's not your ups and downs. Like, I think if you're serial cheating in a relationship, that relationship to me is toxic because you're bringing negativity within it. When I think of ups and downs in a relationship, I think of, this person chews chips too loud and like that's irritating to you. That's up and down. You have to like, oh, that's something. Okay, I'll work on it.
Right.
I don't want to personally work on it when you're cheating on me. If you're cheating, you gotta go.
Right.
Okay,
right.
That's not something we can work on. That's a real toxic relationship. That's toxic in a relationship.
Right.
Not, oh yeah, no, we're in a relationship, but he's been cheating on me since day one.
Right.
That's not a relationship, and it's also, that's toxic.
Right.
You need to get out of it.
Or she been cheating on me because there's some poor guys that be getting dogged out too.
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
Yeah. This goes both ways when it comes to that. So yeah.
Right.
That,
I don't know. And it's just, and I think this could be like maybe a generational toxic trait for some people, but like, I think that goes into the fact that some people feel such a need to be in relationships. I don't know if it's for Instagram or for social media, kind of going back to our last episode, or what it may be, to the point where it's like they rather be in a toxic relationship than be on their own. Yeah. Like I'm single right now, and a relationship would be nice, but it's not like you just don't get into any sort of relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship. And I honestly, I think social media plays a big part because I think everyone wants to be cute and post couple pictures on Instagram, and it'd be like, I swear, I don't know. It just be like, I see people all the time on Instagram. No, Instagram, it's not funny. It's actually sad. I don't know why I'm laughing, but it just be like, it'd be like, my rock, my all, love, us against the world. And I'd be like,
love you 4L.
Wasn't that the one you were just throwing a wine bottle at their head last night?
Okay, what's wrong with you and wine bottles at the head?
Because people throw wine bottles a lot.
Maybe the wine glass, not the whole bottle.
No, because that's my point. It'd be so toxic. They'd be trying to kill each other. They use the full loaded wine bottle.
Let me see. If you throw a wine bottle at my head, we're really gonna fight because you're wasting wine here. My goodness.
Like, they be trying to go for the coma. Not a scratch though.
Woo.
But that's my point. Like, they be having like all this toxicity, and then it just on Instagram and Facebook, you be thinking of like they the couple of the year. Like I don't know.
I mean, I honestly think that's half of these TikTok and YouTube couples.
Don't leave my YouTube couples alone.
Okay,
you know I love.
Okay, that's another thing. You
couples.
love YouTube couples. And I can't stand them. But like,
well, honestly, I don't know if I watch.
What was that? What is no? There was a what was it? There was a relationship doctor guy, and he cheated on his girlfriend. Remember the video he put out, and she was sitting there with a bond on?
Oh yeah. I know.
That's a toxic relationship right there.
Right.
And that was also, but like, look what they were on social media, just like, oh, they're just so fun and so happy and so loving, and look what was going on in the background.
Right. Yeah.
So I think those are real toxic relationships. If it's something that's really hurting you, that's what you can call something that's toxic, but not something. I think minor things should not be called toxic.
Right.
I just don't. I think it should be. I don't know what to call it, but it shouldn't be toxic. Those are
just like pet peeves,
like
pretty much.
Yeah, like being toxic is not giving my opinion.
Right.
It's different if it was unwarranted and it's like I was never asking for your opinion. Okay, maybe different.
Right.
Or if like, your opinion is like rude.
Right.
Like it's like you could. I was actually seeing this clip on like the Kardashians where it was like Caitlyn Jenner. But at the time was considered Bruce. I don't,
Right.
But it was a clip where like he was like talking to Chloe and was like, you can lose a few pounds.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Right.
Now, if you said that to your significant other relationship, that's not right. Like
right.
if they walk over and say, hey, should I lose some weight? It's like, well, if you're not happy with it,
right.
But you should just walk in on a random Tuesday and just like, wow, could lose a few pounds.
Right.
That's
wow,
right.
Rasputia can't get in the gym. Like, okay, dang, you ain't to say all that. Like,
listen,
but I think we're coming down to the end of the time, so we have to do our weekly rant. So, babes, what's been irritating you?
Children.
You're
that is very true. Children have
children.
I do too. I want a child. One of these days, I do want one. But some of these children, I don't know what's in the milk. I don't know what's in the juice. It's like so. Okay, so I went to the market today because I had to go to the market, and because again I don't drive, I have to walk to the market. As I'm walking to the market, there's this large group of children. Like,
oh, you mean the rowdy children?
Rowdy? Not all children. Just
okay, yeah, no, I concur. You mean the?
But like, even I don't like seeing groups of children in general. But like. If it's a group more than like 3, I'm just like, oh god, I'm an old white lady to this. But no, there's this large group of children, and I don't know, maybe because I'm a lot older now, but like they do things that are like at my age I feel like I wouldn't do. But like I'm walking up this hill because like from where I live, where I go, it's like a hill, and they are just like screaming and cussing. I'm like, oh god. And then like at one point, one boy like grabs someone's car's door, and I'm like, what are they doing? But like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all?
Right.
Go find something to do.
Right.
I want you to find something to do. Stop terrorizing people. Get away. Like, why are you like you're at people's houses, their doors, messing with people? You're pulling up people's car doors. You're screaming up and down the street. You're in the middle of the street. People can't get up and down the street. Find a program.
That's also because people don't know. Parents don't know where their kids are.
Drag them.
I'm just look. It is what it is. Let's use.
Ooh.
I just had to drop a bomb. Parents do not know where their kids is, and also this the kicker. They can care less. I dropped another bomb.
Nicki Minaj. Jesus. To freedom.
Oh, wait. We only got 1 minute left, so let me do my quick
what's
rant.
irking you?
Based on, really quickly, I said I was losing patience. The driving, it's probably every major city, but I'm going to speak about Philadelphia. Something has to be done. It is getting out of hand. Either you're behind someone, literally on the way, when I went to go meet you for this podcast, I was literally going behind someone and we were going 9 miles per hour. Why? Why were we going 9 miles per hour? Or someone comes around, it's either they're going 9 miles per hour or 100 and a 25. Like, can y'all pick one and start using your turn signal? Man,
use your lights in general.
Yeah, matter of fact, how about you just learn to drive? That's a point blank in period. Like, I don't know if you're buying licenses or people high. Whatever it is, can we please stop and learn how to drive? But that's my rant for this week. Like, it's horrendous.
I don't drive, and the times I have driven, like, the very first time I drove, like, on the boulevard, almost got into an accident. So, yes, please learn to drive, get it together, get your children in a program.
Right.
And thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye,
Woo!
guys.